I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And you just saw, this is a True Cults selection. The name of this song is Pnigalion, I think. And it's by the band Akhlys.
To be honest with you, I couldn't wait to get this song off the list because there's so much about it I don't know how to pronounce. Usually it's like the band, either I can't do the band or I can't do the title of the song. Both of these I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, so this is a band and a song that I am certain, if it wasn't for our alliance system, we would not see the light of day or the light of night, whatever you want to call it. What is the alliance system? The alliance system is a very simple process. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon, and then you're able to go and do what the True Cult has done. You come together as a team, you pull your points together, you decide what songs you want us to do, and then we do them. So that's why we're listening to this song right now. The True Cult is a very super secret organization. I'm not sure if there are even members still left. I do have a contact with the ever mysterious Damon Sage. So if you want to be part of the True Cult, $1 at the gate at Patreon. Now, if you're a filthy capitalist and you don't want to deal with all that, the group dynamics and all that stuff, some people are more loners. That's okay. We've got an option for that too. $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You can do that via Patreon, or you can do that via PayPal. VinandSoriMerch@gmail.com. You, dear listener, are going to want to be on Patreon very soon. We've got some update videos coming down the pike that should be dropping at 11:59 tonight. So there is that. So be on the lookout. Okay, but now it's time for Pnigalion. And I think that's an old English word that talks about nightmares or sleep paralysis or something.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm sure we're in for a treat here. This is Pnigalion from Akhlys is the best guess I can do. And let's go.
boy.
Still like a minute left on the counter.
What?
There's a minute left on that.
Yeah, I don't think it means anything.
I'm just gonna chill. Yeah, I don't think there's anything left. That's it. All right. Lyrically, I was like looking at, what is this? What is that? Which I usually don't, but I'm like, this dude is saying something, and I want to make sure I know what the hell he's talking about. So, like, Janus, for example, I thought it was the biblical Janus, or maybe the intertestamental Janus. You see where it says Janus right there?
I did.
Oh, gatekeeper, cemented in paradox. I don't know if cemented is right, or if it's cemented.
Who's Janus?
So, remember it was Janus and Jambres opposed Moses?
Oh, yeah.
But that's Janus, Jannes, so it's not the right guy. So it's actually another guy by the name of Janus who is incredible. So Janus...
Real person?
No. He's...
I felt like everything was about demons.
Well, yeah, I think from our worldview would probably be about demons, but... They're... Oh, it's right here. Hold on, let me see. Where'd you go, Janus? There he is. In ancient Roman religion and myth, Janus is the god of beginnings, gates, transitions, time, duality, doorways, passages, frames, and endings. He's usually depicted as having two faces. So you see right there, it says, of Janus, O gatekeeper, cemented in paradox.
Yeah.
Adorn me with twain-minded mask.
Yeah.
So he's got... he's symbolized by having two faces or whatever, and he's the god of...
That's creepy.
He's basically the god of transitions, which would symbolize a doorway or a gateway or whatever.
That doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing if it's a god of transitions. Because everybody goes through...
Say again?
That doesn't necessarily mean it's like a bad, scary thing, just because it's a god of transitions, I guess. Because everybody goes through transitions, it would be nice to know that there's a god that's in charge of those transitions.
Right. Right. As not is the aspect of the one who comes before me. Not is the name of the one who resides within me. Not means nothing, right?
Yeah.
Nothingness. Which, what is it? Is it the chaos brand of Satanism? I forgot what the name, but basically it's like they're trying to achieve nothingness, but it's not like Nirvana type nothingness.
What kind? Like what?
But I mean it's kind of like an obsession with the void is what the what they're looking at. So, and lyrically, yeah, it was crazy. Like dude's massively intelligent, but just sonically there was a lot of like subtleties, like that last little section was like dun, 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 dun. Like it started off subtle, and then like I don't know, for the last minute and a half they really featured it.
Yeah.
And it was like really hard. And that drummer was crazy.
Yeah,
that's one of the things like
going crazy.
I think that gets lost when you listen to these black metal, well, particularly us as Christians, and because the channel is more geared toward lyrical analysis over and against
musical breakdown.
Really digging into the music. But sometimes a band is so brilliant sonically that it's hard to miss. Like I feel like these guys, and this is why we have the Alliance program, because like this is exactly like I'm gonna listen to the song again because I'm like, holy shit, that's such a good idea. Okay. Like there were like 2 or 3 moments in the song where I was like, oh my god, that's such a good idea. And there's other things where I'm like, I get really excited because I'm like, oh my gosh, like, because every time I write, I'm like, oh man, I want to write something really cool, or maybe something I haven't heard before, or take something I have heard before and kind of add my own mix to it. Like that dun 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 dun. It reminded me of For Whom the Bell Tolls with Metallica, because Metallica has a real.
Oh yeah, actually I agree with that.
Dun 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 dun. But they made it more thematic because they didn't just hang out on the low E when they were doing it. Mm-hmm. They went A with it or something like that, but it sounded so awesome. And then the synth in the background was also really, really cool because, I don't know, we've listened to some, I don't even know what the phraseology is. Is it progressive black metal bands where there's I wouldn't say they're synth dependent, but the synth is there and it's obvious and it's almost like drowning out the guitars, which like I would rather the synth kind of operate like salt. Like if you know that it's there, then you've probably over salted your eggs. Like,
did you oversalt yours?
Yeah, that's where I got it from.
I wondered.
So like, when you think about like synth, like there's, like you have some sort of genres where that's all it is, like techno, trance, whatever. But then on the other side, like you do have metal that includes some synth stuff, but sometimes like they just completely overdo it. This one I thought was perfect. It was very, very subtle. If you're used to like, listen, it was a very dense sonically. It was very, very, very dense. And like, even like the beginning, there was that kind of strange whispering at the beginning.
Yes, I know.
It was actually the first verse.
Yeah, I didn't know that until all of a sudden we were into the second verse. I'm like, what happened to the first verse?
I was like, oh, wait, that's the second verse. That's not the first verse. So, this one was really, really, really good. I love the way that it began and it ended. From the strangled breath of my body's corpse-like repose. So, okay. So, Pnigalion, again, is an archaic way of saying, like, sleep paralysis or being
that's
strangled.
What I kept thinking about.
Being strangled in your sleep, or, people have these encounters with these. And
Does that ever happen to you? Oh, yeah, you said it did.
Yeah, but it didn't happen to me in the way that it's happened to a lot of people, where they feel that there's an entity in their room.
Oh, you didn't feel that?
No, like
what did you feel?
Well, I've been in a situation. I used to put my blanket over my head when I was like trying to fall asleep, and I remember one time in particular, I had my blanket over my head, and I was like in a very strange, like, twilight, sleep, not sleep, conscious, unconscious, whatever people want to call it. And like, I remember being like, okay, it's time to take take the blanket off my head, obviously. And I couldn't. And it was it was one of those things where it's like, all right, let's not be ridiculous now. Like, take the blanket off. And I couldn't move. And I was like, this is not good. And then, like, I was just paralyzed. I couldn't move. I had the blanket over my head. And I'm like, oh, man, that's not fun. That's not fun. And then, this is weird. I'll say it like this. There was a situation. He was a bad person. He got hit. And basically, this guy was such a horrible human being that, like, dudes who are normally like, oh, whether you're on the team or not, if you get hit, we're going to patch you up, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So this guy, he's bleeding out, like, really, really bad. And the guy goes to the translator and said, tell him he's dying. So the translator goes, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh, he's dead. And then these guys put a blanket over the guy's head. Well, he wasn't dead. I mean, he was going to die within minutes. They put a blanket over this guy's head. And it was just one of those, like, situations where I'm like, he is not going to take that off of his head. Like, that's like, it's over for him. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, that must really suck, man. Because you are, but then I'm like, I don't know, maybe you're so disoriented and your body's so rushed with endorphins that he probably thought he was in Jana with his Horalane. But he wasn't. That's not where he went. I can tell you that definitively. But, like, yeah. So sleep paralysis is a hell of a thing. And honestly, like, since seeing that situation, like, I haven't been very good with that stuff. Like, having stuff over my head and stuff. Like before that, even after the sleep paralysis, even after the sleep paralysis situation, like, me and my brother used to play. We used to go under the blankets and like we would, like, oh, we're, we would pretend that the blanket was like a time machine and we would like roll around under the blanket and then we'd come out of it and be like, oh, wow, we're in 2050 or something like that.
Aww.
So I was always, and I used to sleep like that for years. I used to actually sleep the blanket over my head for years. But after seeing that situation, like I was never good with that after that. Like it was really, really strange. Like the whole like buried alive thing and all that. Like I was completely fine with that. I didn't no problem, whatever. But yeah, man. After I saw that, I was I guess I don't know what the word is, but yeah. After that, I didn't want anything over my head. After that, it's funny because we went to I never really put it together.
You handled the escape room though.
Yeah, we went to an escape room, and there was, like, a terror thing, and, like, one of the things is you put a bucket over your head, and he was like, oh, people were freaking out, blah, blah, blah. People had a hard time with it. And sure enough, I put that over my head, and immediately, like, I had to take a break. I had to be like, hold on for a second. And, like, I had to do a lot of work to, like, get that over my head and, like, be okay.
They came out and told me he's panicking in there, so you're going to have to hurry.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't do well in those situations.
I won't say I was panicking, but I was definitely...
Yeah, but he did that to add to it.
Oh, yeah.
Because then I was useless.
You were. I had to get myself out.
Because
I had to figure out the clues, which usually in the escape room, she's actually the one that usually gets us out of there.
It's mental codes that gets you out. And when I'm in a situation like that, my mental capabilities just plummet, and all I want to do is physically get the situation fixed. So I kept looking at where you were, and I was like, I know how I can get him out of that room without using the mental steps that it's going to take. But I was like, I can't do that. We're in an escape room. This is not like real life. So.
Yeah.
So he had to escape himself.
I had to get myself out of it. Yeah, but like I had to really like, and I really didn't know until, just now, like talking this through, where I'm like, oh, okay, that was.
What was going on there?
I was having a very, very hard time. Very hard time. But like yeah, it's a bad situation. But the guy, like, I don't feel bad for him at all. Like he was a very bad person. So he got what he got. But yeah, it's a pretty crazy situation.
Well, I've never been in a situation like that. I had sleep paralysis though on multiple occasions. They're not. It's not
What was
fun.
that like?
Well, the first time that it happened to me, I was, strange as it sounds, it happened a ton in Bible college.
Really?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was my first experience. Well, I had weird things happen to me when I was like, I don't know, what was it? The ice storm of 98?
Yeah.
So if I was born in 85, that puts me at 13.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to guess that I was 12. So I was like 13 years old, and we had, I'm not sure. Well, I don't know, because I didn't feel, okay, anyway, let me just tell you these stories. They're kind of freaky. So we had, the ice storm happened, everybody lost power, and in Maine, it was glare ice everywhere. And so.
Glare ice? What's glare ice?
Oh, maybe I'm using the wrong word. That's just a word we used. It was like thick, like ice over everything. Literally, you went out your front door, and the only thing that you could hear was branches and trees just crashing down.
Wow.
And then you could see this blue haze that would be across the sky over and over because the power lines were just getting destroyed, and there was.
I'm surprised there hasn't been like a movie made about that. That seems like such a cool situation.
It was super, super fun. So a bunch of people had to come to our house because we had a big house and we had a wood stove. So it was actually really fun. Everybody brought all their stuff.
You enjoy stuff like that.
Oh, right? Yeah, I had a blast. Everybody brought all the food that was at their house so we could try to like work it. At our house, then they made a huge pot of soup that was super exciting because it was so yummy and everybody was enjoying it. And it felt like, I like community living, and it was like that. Well, I'm not sure if I like it right now, but at that point I did. So anyway, everybody, there's tons of people at our house. Well, us kids, me, my sister, and another friend of ours went into the basement, and we set up a tent, and we decided we were going to sleep in the basement. And like in the middle of the night, all of a sudden I woke up because I could hear, you guys are going to think this is just silly. I could hear, woo, woo. And it was really weird because it's like, that's like your typical ghost scene in a movie is like that noise.
Right.
So I thought, my word, this is my baby brother. He's 4 years younger than me. So I'm like 9-year-old version of my brother. Yeah, that's him. He's down here trolling us. So this figure, but it was big, as tall as a man. And it came to the tent, and I was just laying there, and I was like looking at this figure, and the moonlight was coming in, and I'm like, who is that? And the figure just went back and forth in front of the tent, and then I realized, holy shit, the tent is unzipped, but we had zipped it up before we went to bed. And so I was just laying there, and then the black figure got down, and then it started to crawl up my sleeping bag, but it was weightless. And that's when I was
You saw it?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I was like, oh my gosh. It got up to like right here, and I was tapping on my sister because I wanted her to see what I was seeing, so I was trying to like just get her to wake up. And then she was like, I'm like poking her, and then she's like, Sori, what the heck? Like, she just, like, yelled at me like that, and then it was, like, gone, and I was like, did you see that? There was something here, and then, like, I was explaining it. I don't know if either one of them, I feel like one of the other girls saw it too, but I'm not really sure. So we were, like, of course, when I told them the story, everybody got really freaked out.
Did your sister believe you?
Yeah. Yeah, she did. But we had, like, weird experiences like that. Like, I don't know why, but for some reason, there was, like, we saw a lot of weird stuff. I don't know if it was what my parents were doing in ministry, but I don't really know. It's weird when I think about it, how often weird things happen that we would see. But anyway, so us three girls, I realized then that the tent was zipped. It was never unzipped, and it was never just flowing like that. So I don't know if it was something that I really saw or if it was one of those kind of like dreams that you're like awake, asleep, whatever. But I know that my eyes were dry. So my eyes were wide open because I was blinking, and they were like, like burn when you're blinking. So we ran upstairs and we were like telling my mom about it. We were freaked right out. My mom was like, oh, she told the other girl that was there. She's like, I'm sure it was your dad. He was just going down there to tease you guys. And I'm like, he didn't have time to partially crawl up the sleeping bag and then bolt before we would have seen him.
If it was the dad, there's a serious problem.
Well, there's still a serious problem.
Because the thing climbed on your sleeping bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not
a fix or a solve.
It doesn't solve the problem.
So then she like told us other stories of when she was like, my mom told us other stories of when she was like trolling her sisters and stuff when they were growing up, and that was supposed to like kind of make us feel better. But in the back of my head, I was like, And then when I went to Bible college, it was the middle of the day, totally bright out. I was laying in my bed. I had taken a nap, and I woke up. I think that, like, my depression was, like, really, like, maybe kicking up in college, but I wasn't, like, focused on the fact that it was there. So, I was taking a nap, and I, like, woke up, and I saw my roommate on the bed beside me, and then, like, this weight just, like, this, like, fear, really, really, really intense fear felt like it came in the room. And then it just like pressed itself, like I was laying in bed, it just like pressed itself on me, and I couldn't barely breathe, and I couldn't get it to stop. And I was trying to get my roommate because I thought she just needs to wake me up and this is going to stop. I need to wake up. But yet my eyes were open, and I felt like I was like paralyzed. And then eventually, like, the only thing that ever breaks it is in my head, I like struggle to say the name of Jesus. And once I say Jesus, then I'm good. And then it happened a couple times like that in college. And then again, it was happening in my first marriage. He would be at work. He worked nights, which I did not want him working nights because I was freaked right out to be in the house by myself. And
isn't that when you guys started getting dogs?
That's probably one of the reasons why I got a dog. Although dogs are freaky when you're freaked out. Because all of a sudden they'll do like this. And they'll be like, their eyes look like they're all friggin' freaked out themselves, and they're like looking around the room. So like the dog would do that, I'd be like, holy shit, what's happening? Yeah, and then Sayla was just a baby, and then she'd start crying and she'd be screaming. And I'm telling you, to me, there's like one of the most terrifying things is when there's not appropriate lighting in the room and you're already freaked out, and there's a baby screaming because you can't get them to stop, and you feel like something bad is going to come up behind you while the baby's screaming and you're tending to the baby, and then that's just going to be it. So anyway, that happened to me multiple times, but in that situation, it was weird. I was laying in my bed, and like I woke up, and it was like, it's always like a twilight kind of like where there's like a lot of moonlight that's kind of lighting everything.
Yeah.
And I looked and I heard the front door open. It was squeaked open. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I see this black figure and it just stands in the door. And it's not coming toward me. It's just standing in the door. But then obviously when you see that, your fear is like just increasing and increasing. And then it slowly started walking to my room. And then when it gets to my door, I'm still not able to get up. And then it came over and then it just like pushes. Like there's all this weight that's just on me. And I could not wake up. I couldn't wake up. I couldn't get up. I couldn't move. I could barely breathe. And then again, I just said the name of Jesus and then it was gone. But it's like terror that like makes you sweat. It's like so scary.
Yeah.
But that hasn't happened since we've been married.
We did what do you call it? We did a song from Black Sabbath that was basically about this. And I remember telling people in the comment section, I was like, put in the comment section your experiences. I was blown away.
And how many people?
By how, because like I said, I've had what people call supernatural experiences before, but I've never had that as an, like, experiencing like the shadowy figure or whatever. But there was this guy at our church, he used to get them quite frequently. And it's something that's been attested to millions and millions of times. And it's just like the arrogance of certain people that are like, oh, it's not real, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, all these millions of, I mean, and this is from like time immemorial. Like this is in the most, ancient pieces of literature. There's this phenomenon that's being described. And to me, it's like, what is so wrong with saying like you look at these UFOs, people are like, oh, it's an interdimensional thing. Like that's a hypothesis. Like maybe it's an interdimensional thing. And then you have simulation. Ugh. Right? Then you have simulation theory. You have all these other things where it's like, oh, this could happen. There are parallel universes, yada, yada, yada. It's like, okay, so if you can believe that, then how would an ancient person talk about a being or a sentient entity from a parallel universe or from another dimension who found some way to cross over in some sort of non-corporeal, like how would they describe it? Obviously they're going to use, ancient language to describe that. They're not going to say this is a, interdimensional extraterrestrial being who found some way to non-corporeally engage with our dimension, blah, blah, blah. Like, come on, bro. Like, it's ridiculous. But like, something is happening. Something is going on, right? Like, to just completely wave it off because it doesn't fit into your neat little naturalist paradigm to me is crazy. It's insane.
I'll add a funny little piece to it. So though that was happening to me, and I'll say that the figure was shaped very much like my ex-husband. So he came home from work one night, and I had gotten up to use the bathroom, but at that point, I fainted very easily. And so I got up out of bed.
That's true. You haven't been doing that in a while.
I think it's stress related.
I used to faint a lot.
All the time. So I got up and I went to go use the bathroom and I fainted on the way there. In the meantime, he had come in and so he got me while I was fainting and I slipped down to his legs, and so I woke up from the fainting thing. It's only seconds that I'll be blacked out for. So I come back and all I see is two men's legs, and then I'm in my pajamas, which would not be something I would wear publicly, and so I'm trying to figure out how I landed wearing that with this man in the dark, what's happening to me? And I just started panicking. I didn't piece it together. He was like, it's okay, it's me, it's okay, it's me. Which at the time. Anyway, so I just thought that was funny.
Shout out to the homie. Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like this guy had one of those situations and he's intercoursing with these demons and off they go.
Was there other names in here that you were... What is this two-faced figure?
Well, the two-faced figure I think is Janice, but Tartarian.
You saw Pan down there?
Yeah, Tartarian. I'm assuming is a way to talk about
Peter Pan.
The winds of Tartarus, right? Tartarian, and Tartarus was Tartarus actually mentioned in I think 1 Peter or 2 Peter when it talks about the spirits in prison.
Yep.
You know, like these powerful angels or whatever. Right. When talking about Noah, the word is Tartarus. It's where like the really bad. I think the Titans and the other gods ended up in Tartarus, which is very interesting considering the Noahic stuff and all that. So yeah, it's kind of like it looks like he had sleep paralysis, and then all these Greco-Roman gods and whatever, he ran into them, and it's about being in the night and being, absorbed by darkness and all that. But I mean, the song, the musicianship was just incredible. I mean, the lyricism is also incredible, but the musicianship, I was just blown away by it. I was like, oh gosh, here we go, another, pretentious black metal track. But holy shit, these guys are.
Can you read this sentence?
I think they're legit. Ceramented in Paradox, Shadow of Midnight. I don't know if it's like. I don't know what
you're stuck in a paradox.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you see the word cemented in there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's like a combination of cremated and
yeah, that's
cemented.
That's literally
There is a band called Ceramented. Here it is. Cerament, a cerecloth used for wrapping the dead. So, the paradox I'm assuming is that he is ceramented, as in he's wrapped with the cloth of the dead, which would be his sheet if he's in his bed. Because that's what happens with sleep paralysis. You're asleep and you can't move, so basically you're dead. So his sheet was his cerament at that point. And the paradox is he's not really dead. He's alive.
Yikes.
But, and then it says Shadow of Midnight, which how can you have a shadow at midnight? You gotta have a light to have shadow. So if it's like completely dark, how can you have a shadow? But anyway, good song. I'm gonna give it a 9.8.
8.8.
You're gonna give it an 8.8.
Yeah.
There you are, dear listener. Moral of the story is don't be a bad person. Don't fall asleep with blankets over your head. And
don't fall asleep, period.
Don't hurt children. And if you get hit, dudes will take care of you. If you don't, then
get what you get.
You'll go to your place. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone. Goodbye.